Marcus Tullius Cicero was a Roman statesman and scholar. He was born about 400 years after the founding of Rome. He believed that the elected representatives of the people should maintain control, and that no single person should have full power. When Julius Caesar became the dictator of Rome in 49 BCE, Cicero objected, and others rose up and assassinated Caesar. Cicero had taken no part in this plot, and he had planned to retire from politics, traveling to Greece. But that did not keep the power of the Roman state from tracking him down and having him beheaded. He should have taken note of a statement made by another philosopher, born almost 100 years before Rome was even founded. Pericles had said, "Just because you don't have an interest in politics does not mean politics will not have an interest in you." Hello and welcome to the Terran Space Academy, where we help prepare you for a bright future in the space industry. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we appreciate everyone helping us on Patreon. Thank you. Elon Musk seems to be, at this moment, the second richest person on Earth. Having access to that much wealth gives someone enormous power and influence. But there was a time, not that long ago, when Elon's dream of sustainable energy and transportation and advancing humanity into the solar system could have been easily crushed. If the fourth Falcon 1 had failed, there would not have been enough money for a fifth. If Tesla had not been able to make it through what Elon called production hell, it would have failed also. Many businesses fail, not because they don't have customers, but because their growth outstrips their cash resources. The first most dangerous time for a new enterprise is when it is 6 to 18 months old. Capital must be invested before you can attract customers. The second most dangerous time is when you are trying to go from a small successful company to a giant successful company. At both points, you must have a ready source of capital, from cash reserves, loans, or investors, so that you can survive the negative cash flow. The reason it is much easier for the wealthy to start a new successful business is that they have access to the capital to make it through these filters. Now that Elon has helped create not just one, but 3 billion-dollar companies, what could bring him down? The answer is the same now as it was for Cicero: politics. At some point in the future, history books will be written about the current battle between SpaceX and Blue Origin. But this is not a battle of competing space companies. Blue Origin is a suborbital tourist attraction with one functioning single-stage rocket. SpaceX is an orbital launch provider with the world's only reusable first stage, lifting both Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy to orbit. SpaceX has a human-rated spaceship capable of maneuvering in space. Blue Origin has a reusable suborbital capsule that cannot go anywhere in space, except straight up and back down. NASA recently chose SpaceX for the Artemis project, to land humans on the moon. SpaceX was chosen because they had the best price, the most experience launching spacecraft, and an amazing history of innovation and problem-solving. Blue Origin can't even get their BE-4 engine to work right, leaving the United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket without an engine. Now understand that for the last 40 years, space contracts have not been awarded to the most innovative companies. SpaceX had to sue the government to open up bidding, since all government launch contracts were automatically going to ULA. This type of corruption has been allowed in America, even when it threatens national security, as long as the people who profit share those profits with those who make the laws. Understand that it is not uncommon for large companies to also abuse the legal system, to give themselves an unfair advantage. Take what's been happening to Tesla, for instance. You would think that all American politicians would be in favor of an almost totally American-made car company. But as soon as Tesla vehicles became popular, other car companies donated to politicians, and those politicians passed laws making it harder for Tesla to make sales. When authorities in California started obstructing Tesla operations, Elon started building a gigafactory near Austin, Texas, despite the fact that Texas has blocked direct sale of automobiles in that state. and has blocked Texas residents from receiving a $2,500 tax credit for non-dealership cars, and has tried to pass a bill making it illegal for Tesla to repair its cars in that state. Why is Texas, the historical home of innovative technology companies like Texas Instruments, obstructing its own progress, inhibiting the creation of jobs for its citizens? Do you think politicians would pass these laws if they were not being rewarded by Tesla's competitors? SpaceX eventually won the right to bid on national security payloads. But despite that win, the most money kept going to companies with the most political clout. For example, when the commercial transportation services contracts were being handed out, Boeing was given $2 billion more to make the Starliner than SpaceX would be given for the Dragon. We all know how that worked out. And a very viable spaceship, the Dream Chaser by Sierra Nevada, was frozen out almost entirely, despite the fact that it would make a better lifeboat than either Starliner or Dragon, being able to land on almost any commercial runway. Now Congress, specifically this congressperson, is endangering the future of humanity's advancement into space by slipping into a law the requirement that NASA give the next round of lunar lander funding to a company other than SpaceX. It is open knowledge that she was lobbied by Jeff Bezos. How is it legal for a wealthy person to so blatantly corrupt the legislative process? But she is not the only threat to Elon and SpaceX. Operations in space are subject to many laws. One of the oldest is the Outer Space Treaty. Most of the countries on Earth have signed and ratified this treaty. Contrary to what many think, this treaty does not ban weapons in space. It bans weapons of mass destruction in space. These would include nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons only. Conventional weapons can be placed in space. The treaty does, however, say that the moon and other celestial bodies are not subject to national appropriation by any means. This means that landing on the moon first does not mean the United States owns the moon, though we do have the right to control the area around our landers. The Outer Space Treaty also prohibits any other nation from laying claim to the moon or Mars. This seemed to imply that no one could own anything taken from the moon or an asteroid. To clear up this misperception, the United States passed laws establishing a "if you mine it, you own it" policy, allowing private companies to own and sell anything mined from the moon or asteroids. Luxembourg, Japan, India, China, and Russia are all introducing similar laws. The treaty also does not prohibit control of an area in space or on a celestial body. If one country builds a base in space, like the ISS, it can dictate who can come near it. The same would hold on the moon. No one has tested these laws, of course. If I land a rover capable of using regolith to 3D print a wall around Shackleton Crater, can I declare this my base and keep others out? Must a base have a human crew to stake a valid claim? Or will remote-controlled robots do? If I put a big net around the asteroid Psyche, a solid chunk of very valuable metal, can I control access to it? These questions will all have to be worked out if humans start putting mining outposts in space. But before we even get off the ground, we have other worries. To launch something into space requires permission from a government entity. A space company must be headquartered in the United States to compete for government launch contracts. That is why Rocket Lab moved their headquarters to the U.S. But once you have your headquarters in the U.S., you must get approval from the American government before you launch anything, even if your launch site is out of U.S. territory. And anything that goes into the air under American control must be approved by the Federal Aviation Administration. Some people believe that jurisdiction is limited to above 400 feet altitude, but this is false. Even things like balloons, remote-controlled toy airplanes, and small hobby rockets must not break FAA rules for that category of aircraft. Needless to say, big rockets must get approval to launch. SpaceX has had disagreements with the FAA in the past. The SpaceX launch site at Boca Chica, Texas was evaluated and approved for Falcon rocket launches, not Starship. It has been rumored that the FAA did not give prior approval of the first 12,500-meter Starship flight, and there may have been a testy exchange. The FAA did, however, give permission for the other suborbital flights that have taken place, limiting them to 10,000 meters. But the FAA has not yet approved the construction of this launch tower. The FAA could, in fact, order this tower taken down. Jeff Bezos is doing everything he can to obstruct SpaceX. I would be surprised if he did not get congressional surrogates to pressure the FAA to rule against SpaceX. This would leave SpaceX in a very dangerous place. It cannot just launch from offshore without moving its headquarters offshore. Moving its headquarters offshore would prohibit SpaceX from fulfilling government contracts. That would mean no more flights to the ISS by the Dragon capsule, which would again leave America dependent on Russia for space access, as no other commercial carrier is close to flying humans into space. It would also mean no government contracts for Falcon 9, the major source of income for SpaceX at this time. If the FAA takes this step, they will be putting venal short-term political gains over the best interests of the United States and indeed all of humanity. We need space. We need somewhere to go and develop new technologies and establish new cultures. Without access to space, humanity is doomed long-term. What could Elon Musk do if all this hard work is torn down? I think he should call upon St. Lucia. Not this one. This one. St. Lucia is a tiny independent country very near the equator, in the Caribbean. More specifically, here, in what's called the West Indies. The island has been controlled by the French or the British since the 1600s, but is now independent. It has a population of about 170,000 people. Elon Musk could establish an independent company there, under the authority of the St. Lucia government. SpaceX America could continue Falcon 9 operations, while the Starship Corporation of St. Lucia could purchase starships from Boca Chica and launch them off the Phobos and Deimos platforms, in waters controlled by St. Lucia. St. Lucia would most certainly appreciate the income. What other benefits are there to this idea? Starship could fly the most awesome flag of any nation on Earth. This is the flag of St. Lucia. Come on, Elon. This was meant to be. Make it so. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget we have Academy gear in the store. There are links in the description. And stay safe. At Astra Pro Terra.